and assalamu alaikum, family. This is your brother Malcolm Flex TV from Changing the Black Narrative. And if you would like to join on to the Nation of Islam and accept your own and be yourself, please send me an email at malcolmflex19@gmail.com. And if you would like a subscription to the Final Call newspaper, you can also go to finalcall.com, because the Final Call newspaper has been within the black community for years and has changed and saved a lot of lives. It has saved minds, for example. And if you would like to hear the latest lectures and webcasts by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his students, the students of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you can also go to NOI.org. So if you would like to accept your own and be yourself, I will do my best to direct you to your local mosque and nearest study group. This is your brother Malcolm Flex TV. Peace and nasa. Assalamu alaikum. Peace to the family. Peace to the family. How y'all doing? We live. We alive with another show. It's supposed to be a dynamic show. All praises due to Allah. This is the Black American Indians on trial. We are waiting for our special guest, for our big brother YK the Truth. I sent the brother the link, so hopefully he checks the link out. But we're definitely live for another show. And also, if you didn't get a chance, family, go ahead and read the description. I specifically wrote in the description, disclaimer: this video was not intended to be offensive, disrespectful, or making mockery of anyone. This is a scholarly, well put together presentation from a brother who has spent a lot of time in the community and has spent a lot of hours on the subject. Many of us have heard the case made by the Black Aboriginal community that everything we have been told was a lie and have been presented with alternative facts and arguments. So we would like to examine and interrogate the evidence. History is best qualified to reward our research, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? So this is going to be a great episode. And today I will be introducing the brother that has been in the community for a while. This brother is one of the people who was instrumental in exposing somebody in our community that is that was grifting off of our community, Young Pharaoh. Back before Young Pharaoh blew up, and a lot of people knew who that brother was. This brother was the one who told us all what it really was. And he's been in the community for a minute teaching. And on this particular subject about, the Aboriginals, and we've always been here. There's never been any slave ships. It was all a lie. This brother has spent many hours. He got many hours of video footage on YouTube debunking this claim, and I was like, what better person to hold a presentation on this subject than this brother? You know what I mean? And so I want to introduce this brother. This is my big brother. I really appreciate this brother a lot. I thank him for coming on the show, and he's waiting, and we're going to bring the brother on without further ado. We're going to bring our brother to the stage. All praises due to Allah. Shout out to my brother YK the Truth.
Peace, brother Flex. I appreciate you for having me on here. Salute to you, man. And peace to the chat, and hopefully we can have a good show tonight.
All praises due to Allah. All praises due to Allah, man. So we're going to have a fire dynamic show. This brother is no slouch in any sense of the word. This brother is very professional, very scholarly in what he does. I've been watching this brother for maybe like 2016, 2017, somewhere around that time. And His scholarship is nothing less than impressive, especially dealing with this subject, this topic on, the Black Aboriginals, right? So, yes, without further ado, I'm going to allow my brother to host and share his screen, and I'm going to let the brother take over from here. So let me go ahead and do that for the brother. Give me 1 second. And he let him do his thing. Can you share a screen on your side, or do I have to give you permission?
Yeah, I see it. I can do it.
Okay, go ahead, black man.
All right. Can you guys hear me? Can you see the can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right.
You want
so the
blow
name,
it up?
Yeah. Was you able to blow it up?
Yeah, let me try to blow it up. I want you to do your thing solo. Probably I'm gonna back out.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, we ready.
All right. So the name of this presentation is Black Indians on Trial. Recently, Kanye West, went live. He had one of his rants, and one of his claims is that we were Black and we were Indian. Excuse me. He said we were Indian. How many of your grandmothers said you had Indian in you? So now this is going to have even more people claiming to be indigenous to America. But as you remember, 4 years back, Kanye West had his father on all of his acres. And his father said to him, he said, all of these acres are from a Black man. So that goes to show you that even Kanye West's father knew that he's a Black man. All right. So we're going to talk about it. Are the Black people in America today, are they indigenous to the Americas? Now, there's a thing where they say we're classified, they were misclassified. And Negro is really an Indian. So we're going to look at the etymology of the word Negro. 1550s, member of a black skinned race of Africa. Clearly it says Africa. It doesn't say America. From Spanish or Portuguese, Negro, black. From Latin, negrum, nominative, Niger. So that's Nigeria, black, dark. So we know that the word Negro is speaking about an African person. So anytime you see the word Negro in these senses, in these narratives, they are in reference to a person of African descent. Now we look at the word African American. Clearly, it's African, right? Now this is from an 1864 source, and it's speaking about the African slave trade from the 15th to the 18th century. They speak about Negro land. So there's even a place in Africa called Negro land. And it says clearly the Negroes from Africa. Let me blow it up for you guys. It says the Negroes from Africa. So we know that in order to be a Negro, you're from Africa. Now, this is a map of Negro land. And it's the Guinea Coast. This is where my peoples come from. I did my genealogy, I did my DNA, and my people are from West Africa. Black. What does it mean to be black? Black. The meaning dark-skinned person, African. So even the word black means African. So when you look at these census records and you see black there, they are talking about an African person of African descent, not an indigenous person. All right. Now there's something called the Black Belt. This is from 1870s, and it's literally a community, an African population. This is across the U.S. South with the heaviest African population. It's called the Black Belt. So we know black means African. Now, when a lot of us do our genealogy, we have ancestors who served in the Civil War. You know, they had to serve in it. But in order to serve in it, something was passed, and it was called the Militia Act of 1864. Now, what does the Militia Act do? What was it for? It says, Section 13, and be it further enacted that when any man or boy of African descent who by the laws of any state shall owe service or labor to any person who during the present rebellion. So basically, this is for African people. It gave them the right to fight in these wars. Okay, let me keep reading because I don't want to, I want to give you a real scholarship. So I'm going to read it all. So it says, and be it further enacted that when any man or boy of African descent who by the laws of any state shall owe service or labor to any person during the present rebellion, has levied war or has borne arms against the United States, or adhere to their enemies by giving them aid and comfort, shall render any such service as is provided for in this act. He, his mother, and his children shall forever thereafter be free. Any law, usage, or custom whatsoever to the contrary, notwithstanding provided that the mother, wife, and children of such man or boy of African descent. So there's laws that gave African people the right to fight in these wars. So that means that if you have any ancestors in their genealogy, you got Civil War, you see them records, pensions, the infantry that they fought in, just know that they had to go through the Militia Act. All right, let's keep going down. See, here goes another one. 54 Regiment, Massachusetts Volunteers, composed of men of African descent. In January of 1863, Secretary of War Stanton finally gave John A. Andrews, the abolitionist governor of Massachusetts, authorization to form regiments that could include persons of African descent. You see that? Excuse me, guys. Let me run and grab a drink real quick. This is going to be good. The governor had long been an advocate of raising Black regiments from the free Black population. Like most abolitionists, he felt the surest path to citizen for Black Americans was for them to be allowed to fight and die for their freedom. See, you got a lot of so-called indigenous Americans who think that because our ancestors were enslaved, that means that we come from slaves. Being enslaved don't make you a slave. And fighting for your freedom means that you didn't go out like a punk. You fought for it. So every time you hear them say, well, I don't come from a slave. Your peoples come from my peoples were enslaved and they fought for their freedom. Nothing was given to them freely. So we got to get that out of our heads that we were slaves, we was punks. No, when we had them guns, we went to war. My ancestors fought for your freedom. Even your ancestors fought for our freedom. Many of you who are in this chat has ancestors who fought for America. So anytime you hear somebody say, well, you from Africa, why don't you just go back to Africa? Well, we have right to America as well because our ancestors shed blood. You see what it says? Black Americans was for them to be allowed to fight and die for their freedom in their country. So this is our country just as much as it is the white man's, because we fought and died just as well as they did. Now, this is my great grandfather. His name was John Seabury. And if you look at his World War I registration card, he was of African Black. So this is my African ancestry. Because I'm not just going to talk, because a lot of so-called Aboriginals, they talk, but they never want to share the genealogy. It's just all talk. It's all talk. So now I'm going to show you guys my genealogy. Now, this is for the doubters because I'm connected genetically with these people, right? This is his registration card. Now, this is another proof that we are not Indians. Now, this is, excuse me, this is from Black Indians in the United States. And you see Mrs. Amos Chapman, her daughter, all Southern Cheyenne, and an unidentified girl of African-American descent. So clearly, we are of African descent. It's too many sources for you to believe that. Now, this is from my census, 1880s. This is my fourth great-grandfather. His name was Richard Reed, and his parents were born in Africa. His mother and father was born in Africa. So I'm giving you my genealogy. This is my second great-grandfather. He fought in the Civil War. And the unit was the 686 USC Infantry, Mississippi, right? Now I'm connected genetically for the doubters. Now, this is from a book called Freedom by Sword. And let's talk about that infantry. And it says the 86, formerly the 14th Corps d'Afrique. So it clearly shows you that these are people of African descent. All throughout genealogy, you're going to see the word African descent. This is my third great-grandfather. His name was Maurice Worthy Verdier, and he fought with Harriet Tubman and freed 700 slaves at the Combahee raid. If y'all seen the movie Harriet, he was one of those soldiers that attended to help free the slaves in South Carolina. This is my genetics for the doubters. So you see, I'm connected by blood. Now, we're going to talk about the Combahee River in the raid. And it says right here, he took, same book, Freedom by Sword. He took 300 men on a raid 25 miles up the Combahee River. A Confederate inspector later condemned the defenders. Confusion of counsel, indecision, and great tardiness of movement that allowed Montgomery men to free 725 slaves in one day and return them with the Port Royal. So it shows you this is the infantry right here. Guys, and it says the 2nd South Carolina was not the only black regiment organizing for the service at that time. On January 26, 1863, Governor John A. Andrews of Massachusetts received authority to enlist as 3-year volunteers persons of African descent, organized into separate corps. So you can see that my ancestors were of African descent. Now, this is my ancestry results from Ancestry, my DNA results. And as you can see, I'm 20% Cameroon, Congo, Western Bantu peoples, Nigeria, Mali, Ivory Coast, and Ghana, 6% Scotland, Senegal, Benin, and Togo, and only 2% Indigenous American. Halito to my Indigenous brothers. I'm 2%. But as you can see, majority of my DNA is of African descent. The word Blackamoor, when you look at the etymology of the word Blackamoor, it's a dark-skinned person, black-skinned African race. So everywhere you go, it's letting you know who these people are. So what would give us any idea to claim Indigenous American? It makes no sense. And when I look at rest in peace to Renuko Rashidi, he said that we would rather be called turds in the toilet than to be called Africans. Like, people don't want to be called Africans or associate with Africans. Even when you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, he speaks a lot about how even at his times, people didn't want to associate themselves with being African. And his father was a Garveyite. You know, so his father was trying to get black people to go back to Africa. So, and now there's also a conspiracy that if you claim that if you're a Pan-African, you work for the government and you was a CIA. This is one of their biggest myths. Now I'm going to debunk that. At Malcolm X's time, his father was a Garveyite and wanted to get black people to go back to Africa. If he was a CIA, right? Why was they trying to stop that? Why was they trying to stop? They would have just let him gather as many people to go back to Africa, because they tell us to go back to Africa, the white person, excuse me, but they don't really want us to, because then who's going to build this country? Who's going to be the slaves? So they'll tell you all day, go back to Africa, but they don't really want that.
Right.
Now, this is my African ancestry test. And it says below is a copy of your Y chromosome polymorphisms used in analysis. You have inherited this segment of DNA through your father, and it has been passed on consistently from father and son over the last 500 to 2,000 years. Our scientists compared your Y chromosome polymorphisms to those from people around the world and found 100% match to samples from the Igbo people in Nigeria today. Your sequence similarity score of 100% reflects our level of confidence in the accuracy of your match. So not only do you have the ancestry, you also have the African ancestry that deals with your Y chromosome. Now, everybody knows about Juneteenth. It's a holiday, but who is the holiday for? Now, this is from the Library of Congress. On June 17, 2021, President Joseph R. Biden signed into the law the bill that established Juneteenth, National Independence Day, June 19th as a legal public holiday. Juneteenth commemorates June 19th, 1865, the date Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and delivered General Order Number 3, announcing the end of legalized slavery in Texas. Historically, it has been a holiday celebrated by people of African descent in the United States, as well as people in Canada, Jamaica, Nigeria, the United Kingdom, and other countries throughout the world. Juneteenth is also a symbolic date representing the African-American struggle from freedom and equality and a celebration of family and community. So we know that Juneteenth is a holiday for people of African descent. Everywhere you go, it would be hard. Let's say I wanted to believe I was an indigenous. It would be hard for me to do it, because everywhere I go, I'm going to see African, to the point where I'm going to have to start make believe in these things and denying it, because it's so much. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was rooted in the struggle of Americans of African descent. This is from the Library of Congress, to obtain basic rights of citizenship in the nation. Anti-slavery initiatives has gradually abolished the peculiar institution in the northern states by the 1830s, but free blacks were not accorded full citizenship rights. So we know the civil rights was for people of African descent. Now, this is from American Negroes, a handbook, and it says one group, the African Negroes, came not of their own will, but as slaves. Although slavery was a common practice at the time, it was strange to find it among the freedom-loving peoples of the New World. So this is a 1883 handbook, right? And this is a sermon from Joseph Wilde, and he speaks about it. Everywhere you go, they speak about slavery.
Wow, he pulling up old books and everything. Let's go.
Yeah, look what he said. He said, I believe God intended Africa for the colored race, and he will turn a good account their past slavery and bring good even to our colored friends of it. So what the reason why I'm bringing up these books is because we trying to find the words colored, black, all the things that we look for when we do our genealogy and pull up those records. So what's the best place to go than the people that was there at that time?
Right.
So if you can't say, oh, these people was misclassified when they knew who they was talking about. So you can't do it. Everywhere you go, it's going to let you know colored is African, Negro is African, black is African. So how can you put the Indian in there? You can't do it.
Bro, I see the finesse. Okay.
You can't do it. You got the Book of Negroes is a series of documents listing persons of African ancestry who were evacuated from the United States at the end of the American Revolution. This is 1783. Then you got the slave narratives. My father was Abram Brown and my mother's name was Lucy Brown. He said they were slaves of Dr. Arthur Gordon Rose. My grandfather and grandmother were grown when they came from Africa and were man and wife in Africa. So we got slave narratives. We got another one. I is 81 years old. I was born up the watery river close to Great Falls. My master was Osmond Barber. My mistress was named Miss Elizabeth, her wife of Marsh Osmond. My pappy was named Jacob. My mammy went by the name Jemima. They both come from Africa, where they were born. So everywhere you go, you see African. You can't escape it. Then this is from a narrative of life and labors of Reverend G.W. Offley. This is a colored man. So this is from the 1860s. He said, I do, sir, that they were not half so devilish in Africa before you whites went there and commenced destroying their cattle. So basically, the white people did the same thing that they did to the Indians. We're going to go over there, try to destroy their buffaloes. Then we're going to put this native a tribe against this native tribe and cause confusion. Then we're going to take their land. It's called destroy and conquer. So, what's that saying, Brother Lex, when you put one against the other? That's it, right? Cause confusion. Yep. So you put one person against the other, and then they fight, and then you come and try to be the hero. Divide and conquer. There we go. Divide and conquer. That's the name of the game. So even the Reverend knew that the whites went there and commenced to destroying their cattle and made one tribe believing that it was their neighbor and set them to fighting amongst themselves. And then you would take them that were captured. And that's the way you have brought blacks to this country and made yourselves rich by the infernal system of selling Negroes and your own illegitimate children. So they was even selling the mixed breeds. And a lot of times this is where our grandmother get that, well, she got high cheekbones and long straight hair, but that came from the white woman. You get what I'm, so they thinking, well, because you got light skin and you got long hair that you had Indian in you, but you would rather be called an Indian than say that your great grandmother was raped by a white man. So that's what they did. So let me and then we got the Congress. This is a 57 Congress, first section. And it speaks of the Yamasees, and it clearly said he is hot. Now, this is somebody tried to say that the Yamasees were black, that they were Negroes. But this right here says that they were Africans. It says, excuse me, he is high. Let me drink some more water. Sorry.
Yeah, you got it. Family,
it says he is high authority. Appreciate it. He is high authority, and he says that the Yamasee Indians were Negroes, what were known afterwards as the fiercest of the Indian tribes of the South. The well-known Yamasee Indians were Africans. Now, this right here, Flex, is going to really just kill the whole Black Indians, because right now this is Black Indians on This is Black Indians on trial, man. Y'all on trial.
Let's go.
Let's go. So now this
Let's
is
go.
from 5 years expedition against the revolted Negroes of the Suriname. And this is from 1796. Now this puts both Indians and Negroes in the same narrative. Now it says the sloth has a soft and squeaky voice like a young cat. It is different in generative parts from all other quadrupeds and is eaten with avidity by the Indians and Negroes. So clearly, Indians and Negroes are not the same. Now let's keep going because we got more of them. Now let's look at this one. Now it says right here, it says Europeans are exposed in this country, prevents them from keeping late hour knits for them, sews for them, while these girls who are sometimes Indians, sometimes mulattoes, and often Negroes. So you already see that Indian, mulatto, and Negro, Indian and Negro is not the same. It's not the same. Now, let's go to another one.
Right.
Now, let's go to another one. It says, by this, now these are white people that's envious of, because you know, the natives had melanin too. Like they had color too. But that don't mean we're the same, because this is the lookership that they do. They say, well, the white people said that they seen people of color. But just because you have color don't mean you're the same genetically. Now it says, by this, I was always cool and clean. Besides, there is a kind of pleasure in rambling naked when the occasion will permit it, which I always envied the Indians and Negroes. So the white man is saying he envied the Indians and Negroes, and of which only those few can have any idea who have tried to experiment in the light and the following these rules, which kind nature, so it's talking about nature, by an unerring precept has prescribed. I daily use a cheering glass of wine, having first hung it a few fathoms underwater, which made it much cool. So they couldn't even enjoy the heat like the Indians and the Negroes. That's crazy. Right. Now we're going to speak about.
Real quick,
brother.
Okay, I just want to give y'all the context of what brother is talking about, because on YouTube and Twitter, they're saying the argument is being made that all of us are Native Americans. They are saying that the slave trade never happened. There are no slave ships, none of that. So that's why the brother is giving this presentation to debunk all of that. So if you don't understand the context of where he's coming from, this is why he's doing what he's doing, to let you know that there's a distinction historically between Indians and Negroes. So I don't want to cut you off, brother, but I just wanted to give those who don't know what's going on that context before they just start commenting anything.
Right. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we're going to be back in this book. Now, this is going to put the copper colored claim to bed, because they love to say the Indians copper color or we're copper colored. Right. Now, it says right here that the Caribbees, the Arawaks, the Akiwas, the Tariwas, the Waras, and the Pianacadas, besides which these are a great many other whose manner are unknown to us. All these Indians are in general of a copper color, while the Negroes of Africa that live under the same degree of latitude are perfectly black, in which, however, inconceivable at first, is easily accounted for when one considers that the first, viz., the American Indians in Guyana, are constantly refreshed by the cooling sea breeze or easterly wind that blows between the tropics, and that those who dwell in terra firma in Peru on the west coast enjoy that same easterly breeze, still kept cool by the great chains of inland mountains over which it passes, in which their summits perpetually covered over with snow, while the second, viz., the inhabitants of Africa who live south of the river Senegal, get the same east wind, rather heated than cooled, by the prodigious quantity of inland burning savannas and sandy deserts over which it passes. These are the most plausible causes why the Americans are copper, color, or red, and the inhabitants of Africa called Negroes. You see it? It says inhabitants of Africa are called Negroes are black. This, the one being more burnt by the sun's heat than the other, rather than because they are two distinct sort of people. There being, in my opinion, but one set of people on the globe who differ with each other only according to the soil and climate in which they live. So it's letting you know right there that African and Negroes are not the same. They are not the same. It says, a happy people, I call them still, whose peace, hold on, the food is done. I'm sorry, yeah.
Yep. No, you good. Come on, family. Pay attention.
All right, let me get it.
Teaching. Yep.
Yes, sir. And it says, where was I? A happy people. I know perfectly well, viz., that the native Indians of Guyana possess as few vices as any set of people existing under the sun, and are in their morals but little better of people existing under the sun. And please, guys, check out this book, because the author is a white person, but he's very unbiased. Like, he's like envious of those people, and he actually speaks and lets people know that Africans are not inferior to Europeans. He says it's no way that they are. So check this out. It's the 5-year expedition against the revolted Negroes of the Suriname. Now, they speak about different hair textures with the respect to the shape of the African Negroes. It is from the head to the foot, certainly different from the European mold, though not, in my opinion, in any degree inferior, prejudice being laid aside. So the looks, we're not inferior to white people. And there's a group of white people that wanted us to believe that because we had melanin that we were less than others, when it's the melanin in us that protects us from the sun. Like, how can you be ashamed of something like that? Like, I told my daughter, I said, you see that color right there? Right. That's your armor. You love that. How can you hate something that keeps you alive?
That's
like,
beautiful.
How can you hate? That's I just don't get it. You can't hate something that keep you alive. That's similar to your God. A word to my colored friends. Now, this is from a narrative of the life and labors of the Reverend G.W. Offley, a color man and local preacher. He said, a word to my colored friends. It is often said that we are degraded people in this country as well as in Africa, but we consent to the charge. Let us look at the word degradation. Walker says it means deprivation of office or dignity, degeneracy, to lessen, to diminish. I cannot see that his explanation has anything to do with the charge against us in a moral sense of the term, when properly taken into consideration. If we only number 1/6 part. So basically, he's letting you know that the colored is the African. So everywhere you go, you're going to see color. It's going to be in reference to African. You're going to see black. They're going to be talking about African. So when you do your genealogy, it's going to take you to Africa, always. Now it says, the Journal of, now this is from John Newton, 1750 to 1754. And it says, all Negroes are Africans. Today, there are many Negroes in America and West Indies, some thousands in Great Britain, who are descended from the slaves taken by the white men from Africa. They have black or dark skins, usually black woolly hair, rather flat noses, and rather big lips. We opt to think that Africans of Newton days were savages without any laws of civilization, but that is not so. Most of what we know of them and their surroundings is from a few descriptions and drawings by white men. These were sometimes wild guesses. For instances, we know that there are no tigers in Africa. We know, too, that animals follow each other by scent. But one Englishman who went to Sierra Leone in the 18th century wrote, "The country is full of tigers, leopards, and ravenous beasts, which are perpetually fighting. But the tigers have generally the better, and for that reason, the leopard drags his tail when hunted by the tiger to wipe away the impressions of his feet on the sandy ground." That the tiger, so basically they lying. A lot of those descriptions is lying, they lying. So when you hear Malcolm X say that every time they speak about Africa, they talk about jungles and just the worst thing that you could ever think about when you think about Africa. Even me, I'm talking about, right. Let me take you back to the 90s. This is the 90s. And I'm a kid and I'm watching TV and I'm seeing these African children with their belly full. I mean, from hunger, it gets blown up, looking sick, flies all over their body, flying around. And this is the image, the first image that I'm seeing of African. I go to school. That. You remember that, right? Feed the children.
I remember that, bro.
Right. So I go to school, Brother Flex, and what's the first thing I do? I pick on this African kid, chase this kid home. I used to chase this kid and his brother home every day, bullying these kids because I thought they was less than me. This don't you know this kid father was a doctor? You know, I wish I could see him. Wow. Yeah, I wish I could see him and apologize to this brother. Like I just wish I could say I'm sorry, man, because I was confused as a kid. And I even remember my mom, you know, because we lived in a house and we shared a house with African people and they used to cook food. And my mother used to say, "I hate that food. I hate the way it smells. I hate these African people. They stink." Right. And she even ordered like $500 worth of flowers and candy, right, and sent it to their apartment so they could pay for it. Like that was the hatred. But now today, my mom, she don't feel the same way. She don't feel the same way anymore because I let her know, like, you know, these are our people. And, you know, now she understands that. But before, she had a hatred because even in her time, it was taught that Africans were less. And so this is why a lot of our grandmothers, they didn't want to associate with being called African. They'll say, well, we Native, we Indian. We don't want to be that.
And would you say the American media played a major part in that?
Yes, a major part. Because even today, they don't want to show all of these things about Africa, how it really look. Right. They want to send people over there and show the cannibals and all, you know, the dirty water, but show the other parts. I dare you. They're not going to do that. Now, this right here is the quest of the Western world. Yes. And this lays a clear distinction between Africans and Negroes and Indians. So this is the quest of the Western world. And it says, let's go to the top. Fray Marcus, the Frenchman, was well fitted for such an enterprise. He had the courage of a high order and vast experience. He had been with Pizarro in Peru, had marched every foot of the way from Guatemala to the city of Mexico, knew a half dozen Indian tongues, and had labored mightily in the cause of the Indians. On Mendoza's request, he left New Spain in the spring of 1539, taking with him a guide, Estevanico, the Negro slave, who had accompanied Cabeza de Vaca and was one of the 4 survivors of the Neves expedition. So it's showing you right here that Negroes and Indians are not the same. They're not the same. And now another major thing that they want to run to is the Racial Integrity Act. That's their big thing. Walter Plecker, he misclassified us, but that was only in Virginia. That was only in Virginia. If you don't believe me, just research Richard Loving and Mildred Jeter. All they moved to Washington D.C. to get married. If the Racial Integrity Act was everywhere, why were they allowed to go to D.C. to get married? And the Racial Integrity Act clearly shows that colored people and Indians are not the same. It says, in any large gathering or school of colored people, especially in the cities, many will be observed who are scarcely distinguishable as colors. These people, however, are not white in reality, nor by the new definition of this law, that a white person is one with no trace of blood of another race, except that a person with 1/16 of the American Indian, if there's no other race mixture, may be classified as white. Their children are likely to revert to the distinctly Negro type. So it clearly shows Negroes, Indians, and whites. And the Racial Integrity Act was basically the 1-drop rule. If you got 1 drop of Negro blood, African blood in you, that makes you a Negro.
Wow.
So when they bring up the Racial Integrity Act debunks you, because just read the act. It says Negroes and Indians. Right. They lose in that argument. Now we got DNA. Patterns of genetic ancestry of self-reported African Americans. Genome-wide ancestry estimates of African Americans. Now, genetics. Now they would deny this. You know, they run from DNA. Show an average proportion of 73.2% African, 24% European, and 0.8% Native ancestry. So you got way more African. We find systematic differences across states in the U.S. and means ancestral proportions of self-reported African Americans. On average, the highest levels of African ancestry are found in African Americans living in or born in the South, especially South Carolina and Georgia. Now, this brother Flex, let's give me a second to get some more water. 2 seconds.
Yes, sir. You got it. Man, you're gonna need some water the way you cooking.
Now, I live in Columbia, South Carolina. Now, this guy right here, now this is going to prove that DNA testing is real for the DNA deniers. Now, this brother, you know, he harmed, I don't want to say those words that, you know, flag. He harmed a mother and a child, and he killed them. And they took a DNA test, right? Let's read it. It says, there were no known eyewitnesses to the murder of a young woman and her 3-year-old daughter for 4 years. 4 years ago. No security cameras caught a figure coming or going. Nonetheless, the police in Columbia, South Carolina, last month released a sketch of a possible suspect. Rather than an artist's rendering based on witness descriptions, the face was generated by a computers relying solely on DNA found at the scene of the crime.
Whoa!
Yes. So they was able to create a face, a sketch based on the DNA, because they always say, "Well, show me where DNA is used for." Now this is where ancestry. So this really destroys the argument. It says, it may be the first time a suspect's face has been put before the public in this way, but it will not be the last. Investigators are increasingly able to determine the physical characteristics of crime suspects from the DNA they leave behind, providing what could become a powerful new tool. Now, look what it says. Look what it says, though. I got to find that. Because it said what he was. Now, oh, there you go. I got to blow it up. Here you go. Now, do y'all see that? Wow. Look what it says. It says 92% West African, 8% Western, Northwest European. This is how he looked. And this is what they got. That's what they got.
Look at the power of a spit kit. They say on Twitter, spit kits are not ironclad. They say on Twitter that spit kits is not reliable.
Exactly. This destroys that. It's over. Yep. It's mixed race studies, and y'all can check it out yourselves. DNA is very real. They out here solving murders for this, because of this. Okay. Now, a lot of how much time? What we looking at?
All right, we got time, bro.
Yeah, we pretty good. We pretty good. All right. So a lot of people like to say, "Well, man, I'm Choctaw and I'm Chickasaw," but a lot of your ancestors were owned by those people. There's a lot of so-called Aboriginals, when they do their genealogy, it shows that they were freedmen, that they weren't even Chickasaw at all. They were owned by them.
Right.
And this is why, in fact, they never want to show any genealogy.
Facts.
I had one Aboriginal. He showed me a picture of his mother, but didn't show me his genealogy. Oh no, that's sacred. But you gonna show me what your mother looked like?
Yeah,
bro. Oh, you see my mother? Don't she look on Twitter? Yeah. You see what my mother looked like? Don't she look like she got Indian in her? Bro, you just said you don't trust the internet. But I know what. Come on, it don't make no sense. Now it says, although the term enslaver for most Americans is likely to conjure up the image of a white plantation owner, native tribes such as the Choctaws also enslaved people of African descent and had done so for more than a century before the Civil War. European traders and settlers introduced Choctaws to the enslaved Africans as early as the 1720s. By 1831, a federal census conducted in preparation for removing Choctaw Indians from the Mississippi River Valley to Indian Territory enumerated 7,963 Indians, 151 white persons, and 521 enslaved people. These are your people. Though the people that's claiming freedmen, those are your people. They were owned by Choctaw. So if you do have that 2% Indian or that 8%, that's because your ancestors were, intermingled with them. It doesn't mean that you are them. This is why they always say, Grandma said, we got Indian in us. See, they misinterpret what Grandma said. She said, y'all got it in you, not you are it. Don't they do that, Flex? Don't they? Even Kanye did it all the time. He said, how many of y'all grandmothers said y'all got Indian in you? So what's the other part? Facts.
And it says, find not one.
Nope, I ain't find not one. And now I'm actually doing genealogy for my mother and my aunt. But they say go to grandma. I'm helping out my mother. So, and it says, and by the 18th century, and by the 1860s, enslaved people of African descent made up 14% of the population in the Choctaw Nation. enslaved people of the nation performed agriculture labor and, when fluent in both English and Choctaw languages, frequently served as interpreters for the Choctaw enslavers. So a lot of our ancestors was owned by the Indians. Now, in the first mention of a black person in a colony dates from 1633. Now, this is going to prove that Indians and Negroes are not the same again. An English visitor published a true and lively description of New England for readers back at home. It includes an account of Indians who were worse than hurt when they came upon a black man in the woods. They sought help from a local farmer who, finding him to be a poor, wandering black man, conducted him to his master. It is possible that this man was not enslaved, but an indentured servant. In any case, it seems clear from the Indians' reaction that black men were a rare sight in Massachusetts. So you got Indians who were scared of a black man. Within a year, the situation changed markedly. In 1636, 1637, the Pequots fought and lost the war with the English, who enslaved native people they took captive. The Pequots resisted enslavement, however, and frustrated that the Indians would not endure the yoke, the Puritans sent them to Bermuda in exchange for African slaves.
Wow.
Now, this is in
Wow,
1865.
these two different people.
I'm telling you. Now, everywhere you go, it's telling you that Indians and Negroes are not the same. They're not. Now, this is from A Prison Life in 1865. Let me blow this up. Now, the guy speaks about, he's a prisoner, and he speaks about running into some Negroes on a plantation. And it says Saturday, 8th, 9th, December 3rd, this night was the first we spent in sleep since we started. It was acceptable indeed, though somewhat interrupted by a genuine African dance held by the Negroes of the plantation. So you had Negroes on a plantation doing an African dance. This is what he saw. Why they wasn't doing it? Why they wasn't doing an Indian dance?
Come on, brother.
Why they wasn't doing an Indian dance?
Come on.
Hold that L. Black Indians on trial. Y'all on trial tonight.
They on trial tonight, bro.
They on trial
Let's
tonight.
go.
Why you wasn't doing an
bro.
Indian dance? Let's go.
Why you wasn't doing the rain dance?
Yeah, why you wasn't doing the rain, making it rain on them? Now it says this is from Black Indians, right? And this is gonna be a checkmate. Let's go back. Let's just go to what she said. Let me blow this up. Now, this is a lady named Rosa Faye. She was a Black Seminole living in Brackettsville, Texas in 1943, and clarified her people's background for pioneer research. Kenneth W. Porter. Now, this is what she said. She said, we's colored people. I don't say we don't has no engine blood, because we has, but we ain't no engines. We's colored people. This is what she said. She said, we are not Indians.
Man, look.
It's over.
Fam, if you are loving YK the Truth, if you loving the receipts that the brother is dropping in this presentation, put a one in the chat. Go and support this brother. The brother's Cash App is on the screen, man. Send the brother whatever you can send him. Support this brother, man. Support his research. See, this brother, bro, this is a sniper shot right here. Bro, yeah. Look, man, he cooking, man. Put one in the chat if you loving this presentation, man. Loving YK the Truth and everything he doing. Let's go.
Telling you, man, we gonna cook them. Oh, we got another one. And it says right here, this is from Thomas Sumter. And it says the war in South Carolina had been of such ferocity and so devastating that General Moultrie declares even the squirrels and birds of every kind were totally destroyed. So it's chaos. And he describes 100-mile drive through the woods of the Low Country in the autumn of 1782 as most dull, melancholy, and dreary. His plantation was a ruin, and all livestock and furniture were gone, but his 200 slaves had resisted successfully all attempts to entice or carry them away, and welcomed him with a barbaric African war song of welcome the war home, while the old soldiers stood to greet them with tears running down their cheeks.
Wow.
Why were they singing an African song?
Hey man, it's if you are teaching that you just 100%, all of us are black Indians and there's no slave trade. Hey man, we got you on the stand right now. You are on trial and we are examining the evidence right now. It ain't no getting away from this.
Now, this is from Red, Yellow, and Black, 1918. And he speaks about, he said, he tried to forget them, but he could not. He spoke about the voices to his friends at the Methodist prayers meeting. It was only a dream. John Stewart, they said, and they smiled to themselves as they pictured an ignorant Negro going forth along to the wilds of the Northwest to teach the Indians. Why is a Negro going to teach the Indians if Negroes and Indians are the same?
Wow.
What did the Negro think? What did the Negro think? He said they will only scalp you for all your pains. They said, no one will give you money for such a foolish undertaking. So he had an idea to go and Christianize the Indians. This was a Negro preacher. His idea was to Christianize the Indians. This was his dream. But somebody is telling him that's foolish. Do you know what the Indians would do to you? They will scalp you. So this clearly shows you that Indians and Negroes are not the same. Well, John, he said, your impressions and your sense of duty are so peculiar that no one will be willing to give you money for such a dangerous enterprise. But if you really feel that it's your duty to go somewhere northwest and preach to the Indians, obey what you believe to be the command of God. You cannot rest your mind in any other way than by thinking the attempt at least in starting your own journey. Then he and his friend prayed, and while they were on their knees, John Stewart became sure of what he would do. So he decided that he would go and Christianize the Indians, the Negro. So Indians and Negroes are not the same.
Wow.
Now, this is going to be kind of, it's gruesome because it's a lot of these testimonies and stories. That's why y'all got to get into, I love history, man. Like history is just, I love it. Like I know my purpose now. It's like, it really dawned on me that these people's stories need to be talked about because it's just sitting there. You know, it's just sitting because, you know, they say the things that you leave behind could give you everlasting life because there's always somebody that's going to resurrect your idea or your thoughts. So I encourage, leave something behind. Write a book for your kids. Give them something to remember you by so you will live on through your words. Now, excuse me, it says, do you still believe Negroes and Indians are the same? Now, this speaks about runaway slaves in Mexico. And it says, let me go back, my bad. The scarcely settled, let me get to that part because I know I'm kind of running out of time.
Take your time. Take your time.
All
You're
right,
good.
I'm going to take my time. I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.
The sparsely settled frontier seemed to render escape relatively simple, but in fact, the route to Mexico was difficult and hazardous. The trip required courage. The semi-desert conditions proved too great an obstacle for many. Some Negroes fought against armed slave hunting parties, such as one led by Noah Smithwick, a well-known Texas pioneer. Others had to combat loyal slaves who tried to prevent their fellow blacks from running away. So it was blacks back then who tried to keep other blacks from being free. And that would be your typical Indian or wannabe Indian. If the Negroes did escape into the semi-desert regions, further hardship awaited. Few slaves knew the route to Mexico. They often got lost and had to risk their freedom to ask directions. Julius Froebel told us a horrible scene he and his party discovered while traveling near the Devil's River in West Texas. They found what had been a fugitive slave camp littered with what appeared to be the bones of a man. They guessed that the Negroes had become lost, ran out of food, and one of the party was killed to nourish the others in their attempt to find freedom. Even if the former slaves knew the direction of Mexico, they might be captured by the nomadic Comanches or Apaches who roamed the semi-desert regions of the state. Captain Randolph B. Marcy saw two Negro girls who had spent months in the hands of the Comanches. The Indians had mutilated the girls, more out of curiosity than torture, interested to know if the girls were as black inside as they were on the surface of their skin. The Comanches had peeled off layers of skin, leaving the girls terribly scarred.
Wow.
So this is the Indians. These are the people that y'all want to claim y'all are. This is who you want to be? Really?
Man.
That's sad, man. That's sick.
No, sir.
That's sick. We don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. Where I'm at. All right, I got some more. Now, this is from 1836, a massacre of the whites by Indians and blacks in Florida, 1836. Now it says right here, massacre of the whites by the Indians and blacks in Florida. So it clearly shows you that Indians and blacks are not the same. So when you do your genealogy and you see the word black,
and they were fighting,
you are of African descent. That means that they were fighting together. So how can you be fighting together if you are the same?
Right. Don't make sense.
They don't. Now, this is from a book, A View of South Carolina in 1802. In the pursuits of agriculture, slaves were introduced into the state, and importations from Africa soon supplied the planter with as many Negroes as he was able to purchase. So this is for you slave trade deniers. There's so many documents that speaks on this. All right.
Yeah, we need you to cook on that. We need you to cook on that.
Yeah. So many. We're going to get to it. Now, this is from the Palmetto Stories, 1903. It was fortunate that South Carolina now had the ready-witted, resolute Charles Craven for governor. He proclaimed martial law, allowed no able-bodied man to leave Charleston, and no provisions to be carried out of it. He then organized an army consisting of the citizens of the town, the men from the plantations, some friendly North Carolina Indians, and some Negro slaves. So Indian and Negroes are not the same everywhere you go.
Mm.
How many times I'm gonna have to pull it up? How many times?
Man.
Now, this is the life, this 1849. You heard of Uncle Tom, but Uncle Tom is the life of Josiah. His name was Josiah Henson. You know, he was a runaway slave. Yeah, he was looking for his freedom, and he ran away. Well, he ran away with his family, and he was in the woods, and he ran into a pack of Indians. Let's read about it.
Mm.
He said, we had not gone far, and I suppose it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when we discerned some persons approaching us at no greater distance. We were instantly on alert, as we could hardly expect them to be friends. The advance of a few paces showed me they were Indians with packs on their shoulders, and they were so near that if they were hostile, it would be useless to try to escape. So I walked along boldly till we came close to them. They were bent down with burdens. So you see, he's not an Indian. The Institute at Dawn commenced 10 years ago with the view of elevating the colored population, then rapidly increased in the number by a sound of scriptural education, without at the same time excluding either white people or Indians from its benefit. The colored populations in Canada West was then and is now composed of almost entirely of fugitive slaves. So they not the same.
Right.
Now here goes. He said, now this is Josiah. He said, if they were disposed to run, I will follow them. We did follow on, and soon the noise was stopped. And as we advanced, we discovered Indians peeping at us from behind the trees and dodging out of our sight. And they thought we were looking at them. Presently, we came up with wigwams and saw a fine-looking, stately Indian. Now, let me go right here. He said the next day, we resumed our march and found from the Indians that we were only 25 miles from the lake. So the Indians and the Negroes are not the same.
Not the same.
And then they're not the same. And I got a few more, but I might have to wrap it up only because I got some things I got to do. But I want to take some questions if you got some questions, and we could chop it up.
And also, because of the lack of time, Brother YK, if you can, we can do a part 2 about the slave ship. They said that slave ships, there was never no slave ships. So if you be willing to, dear brother, I would like for you to come back for a part 2 on that portion.
Definitely.
For the sake of time. So family, if you have any questions, like I said, I gave the disclaimer earlier, I gave context. This video was for those who said that we're all Indians. The slave trade never happened. We've always been here in America, and Negroes are Indians, and there was never no Africans on the slave plantation. It was just all Native American, Aboriginal people that have always been here in America, right? They got different names for these people, Aboriginals. They use Indian tribe names. They even say FBA. They even say foundational Black Americans have always been here in America, didn't come from Africa, have no relationship with Africa, but our brother just has showed and proved with actual receipts and documentation all that to be untrue. So if you participated and listened to this beautiful presentation, this powerful presentation, put your question in the chat. Put your question in the chat. We will be glad to take any questions. If you want to call in to the show, you can call in to the show, and also support our brother. I'm gonna put the number for the show in, but also support our brother. His Cash App is on the screen at YK the Truth 35, and go ahead and support this brother in his research, man. You feel what I'm saying? This brother, he came and he volunteered his time, and he's also taking some time out to answer any questions that any of you may have for him, right? So my question to you, brother YK, the truth, is what led you down this path? What led you down this journey? Because I know it's not easy doing research, but the level of research that you have done showing primary sources, right? It is not too often where people are showing primary sources. What led you down this path, and when did you realize, like, okay, I'm on to something, dear brother?
Just looking at the internet and how this thing is spreading like a wildfire, where everybody is, creating these 30-second clips on TikTok with some spooky music. And then you got, your people that you love. Because I even have some family members that's saying these things. I actually I found my aunt. She was subscribed to one of the biggest Aboriginals, Dan Calloway. And she was like, oh, this brother's the truth. And I'm like, wow, like, no, he's not. So when I started seeing family members and how this thing was spreading like a wildfire, I said, nah, I have to do something about it. And I'm not too big on conspiracies, brother Flex, but there has to be a hidden agenda, because it seems like the channels that's combating these things, they don't get the proper views for that. You know what and then when you start talking about, now, if I was to make a video saying I was an Indian, I would get all the hits in the world. So I definitely had to combat this. I had to, man. I couldn't just sit back and let my people believe these things. And I will continue. And I got a book that's coming out in February, and it's very powerful. It's called The Rise of the Black Pretendians. I'm Not Your African. And I'm already on 100 pages. It's fire. Oh, man, you gonna love it.
Come on.
I broke down the slave ships is in there too. I got the slave ships in there. Man. I got grandma, because we love our grandmothers, but we got to remember nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect, because some of our same grandmothers who told us we had Indian in us drunk the Kool-Aid and went to Guyana. So we know that a lot of our ancestors are not perfect, but we love them still. But yeah, that's one of the reasons, brother Flex, that I had to, attack this stuff.
Okay, so my next question to you is, so when you start doing your genealogy, because that's one of the things that they always ask, especially on Twitter. I don't know, are you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'll be on Twitter.
Okay, yeah, because they always say, did you do your lineage? Did you do your genealogy? Because we standing on bloodline business, right? And all this stuff, right? So when did you start actually doing your research with your family tree and DNA and all that stuff?
I started doing my genealogy in about 13 years ago. I've been doing this for 13 years. I did a lot. I found so much. Just 2 days ago, I found one of my great aunts, and I found how much she was worth. Her and her two daughters, they were worth $2,500. So I have all of this information, and I'm gonna start doing genealogy courses for free. I don't want any money. Because I believe that this is something that the government should give us, because this is something that was taken away from us. Like our language, our genealogy, that should be automatically free. Because that came from the history of America. Right. So why not give us back a sense of who we are? But yeah, I've been doing it for some time, brother Flex.
Yes, sir. So how do you feel about when you hear this narrative and people say it strongly with their chest that there weren't no slave ships? Where the slave ships at? We've always been in America. They lied to you. How do you feel about it when you hear these nonsensical arguments? Because me, I just be like, just clutching my chest like, bro, what is going on?
Yeah, it just lets me know that they don't do any research when you're asking for a what. See, they always say where the slave ships at, but they never say where the wooden slave ships at, because then you would have to admit what material was it and why it's not still here as much as we're supposed to see it. What about wood rot and wood worms and all of that stuff and being on water for about 4 months? I mean, for four weeks. So then it's a different story when you ask for those things. But that's going to be in part 2. And I'm going to get that ready for y'all presentation. It's going to be powerful. And I'm going to do it with Brother Flex, excuse me.
Yes, sir. Man, Look, man, look, I'm going to tell y'all, look, brother, this brother is very professional at what he does. I mean, he, from the time I reached out to my brother, he was on it and already had his presentation ready to go. You feel what I'm saying? And just what he did tonight, I can't even wait for part 2. I'm like, man, let's do this tonight, man. But that's how powerful this brother is dropping this information, man, because from what I'm seeing on Twitter and YouTube compared to what I see in his videos, binge watching this brother videos, I had to bring this brother on the show to combat some of this misinformation that is being spread out there. Because just as the brother said, this narrative is running rampant, and now it got people like Kanye West and other people talking about they Native American. First, Kanye, you was a Hebrew Israelite. Now you a Native American. And it's just baffling, man. It's just I don't even know what to say. But our brother have to go, and we appreciate our dear brother for coming on the show. And if you love this show and you want to see a part 2, want to see our brother YK the Truth come back, please put a 1 in the chat, and our brother will definitely come and drop some more of that heat. So before we go, I know you got to go, dear brother, but do you have any final words that you would like to say before we end the show, King?
Yeah, whenever you run into like a so-called Aboriginal, ask them to show the genealogy. Like you say genealogy is the key, show the genealogy. 2024, we don't want to talk no more. We don't want to argue. We don't want to waste our times on these 11-hour lives arguing. Just show the genealogy. And if you can't do that, don't make the claim. We gotta hold these people up to the things they say. If you say, and salute to Brother Lucky, and I appreciate you subscribing to Brother Flex channel. Lucky is a good one, and he's dropping some jewels too with the with this. But yeah, just let them do their genealogy. And when can we do this on part 2? Because give me about a week or 2.
Yeah, well, yeah, bro. Just give me a date, and
right.
I'm gonna move whatever I gotta move around for my schedule. We can make it happen around this time. Is the same time around 5 p.m. my time, 8 your time is perfect. But we do have one of our guests that have a question for you. Sorry, because I missed it, but I didn't want to just leave the show without answering the brother's question. He said, YK, the way I read Supreme Wisdom, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke to the Indians. It suggests to me that they were a different group from the Africans. Have you ever read that lesson?
No, I haven't read that lesson, but I have read lessons, and I'm kind of mad, brother, because I did like a labor work for like somebody that was a Muslim, and they had some old teachings. And I wish I was able to have that right. I'm talking, they had the FOI suits. I was like, man, and they was giving it away. But at that time, this was years ago, I really didn't have a place to stay. So, I wish I had them, because like I'm not a Muslim, but like I'm big into the teachings, and I love the discipline.
Wow.
Because when you a Muslim, you got to be disciplined. See, a lot of people, they talk about it, but when you a Muslim, you got to be about it. So, don't step in, and that's why, yeah, man. Salute to you, man.
Salute to you as well, brother. And like I said, man, I've always looked up to you, man. You've been like a big brother to me in this, and I use some of your material in the past. And I think that, you deserve your just due. I think you deserve, your props, for what you have done for the community, because you've only given for the community. You've never been a taker of the community, a grifter. And we got a lot of these people lying to our people. They're using other brothers and sisters for a come up. You know what I mean? And you've never been like that. You've always dealt with the truth. And that's why your name is YK the Truth, man. And that's why we love you over here at Malcolm Flex TV and support whatever you do, whatever you're doing. And man, let's get this part 2 scheduled,
bro.
Man.
Got you. I'm gonna send you an email, and I got to leave you my number so we can chop it up behind the scenes.
Okay, yes, sir, most definitely, man. So we're gonna let this brother go, man. Peace to you, brother.
All right, peace.
Truth. You have a blessed and beautiful day, my brother.
All right, same to you, bro.
All right, peace. Family, so there it is. There's our brother, man. That's a beautiful brother, man. Like I said, he's always been a stand-up individual within the community, man. And I reached out to the brother, man, because I noticed that this narrative is running wild, is running rampant on social media, is going crazy. Normally, I would do the research and the presentation myself, but I had been watching this brother for years, for a while, and I've been seeing all of his recent work related to this said subject. And I felt that it was only right to bring this brother on and do this presentation, just as I would bring on a Dr. Wesley, a brother Demetric Muhammad, Ilya Rashad, and the list goes on and on. You know what I mean? And I saw his dedication to this subject. I saw the work that he was putting in, and the receipts that this brother is dropping, right? Not just talking and having conversations that he disagree, but he's showing us line from line different books, right? He's not even really showing a whole lot of articles like that, but he's showing actual primary source documentation. That's why I had to bring him on to have this conversation. So now, because the brother, he still got some more stuff that we haven't even presented to y'all, we're going to bring the brother back on for a part 2 to this show, man. And hopefully, man, if you didn't share this out, man, hopefully you share out part 2 so more people can be on this live stream and they can hear this, man. So like I said, man, it was a great discussion. I appreciated my big brother for coming on and doing this live stream, and he came on and he did it very professionally, and he did a great job. You know what I mean? So this is your brother, man. I won't belabor the point. I hope you all have a blessed and beautiful day. This is your brother, Malcolm Flex TV. Peace and assalamu alaikum. Peace and assalamu alaikum, family. This is your brother, Malcolm Flex TV from Changing the Black Narrative. And if you would like to join on to the Nation of Islam and accept your own and be yourself, please send me an email at malcolmflex19@gmail.com. And if you would like a subscription to the Final Call newspaper, you can also go to finalcall.com, because the Final Call newspaper has been within the black community for years and has changed and saved a lot of lives. It has saved minds, for example. And if you would like to hear the latest lectures and webcasts by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his students, the students of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you can also go to NOI.org. So if you would like to accept your own and be yourself, I will do my best to direct you to your local mosque and nearest study group. This is your brother, Malcolm Flex TV. Peace and assalamu alaikum.